Welcome to our temporary exhibit at the Holland Land Office Museum. This exhibit is called Measuring Western New York. And one of the things that people that come in can learn about is the maps that we have here. And the study of maps is kind of cool. And one of the neat things and one of the neat questions that's answered here is, a lot of people always wonder why New York State ends here. Well, there's a specific method to this measuring madness, as they call it. What happened was the three Ellicott brothers, Joseph, Andrew, and Benjamin. Andrew was contracted by the state of Pennsylvania to find the edge of western New York because there's some land that was kind of in dispute there. And so Andrew Ellicott, with his brothers Benjamin and Joseph, they had to actually, how they found the end of western New York is they had to go into the Niagara Peninsula. And New York State, because of conflicting charters from kings going way back into the 1600s, it was decided that New York State ends at the end of Lake Ontario. So the Ellicott brothers went into the Niagara Peninsula, they found the end of Lake Ontario, they found that line of longitude, and they drew a straight line down. Well, actually they traveled all the way down here, and then down around the shoreline of Lake Erie. And then when they got to this point of longitude, they knew that New York State ended there. So what happens is New York State ends at Lake Ontario. Another neat thing about how western New York was laid out. The Holland Land Company, they owned everything that's in color on this map. It's basically from the four corners of Stafford to the Pennsylvania border, or to Lake Erie in Pennsylvania, and then from the Pennsylvania border all the way to Lake Ontario. Now, when Joseph Ellicott was contracted to do this, what's called the Great Survey, the first thing he had to do was run two parallel lines. So he ran one right here, and then another one right here. And these parallel lines, they were made with an instrument called the transit, which is right here. Although that's a much more modern device than the Ellicotts would have used. But what they had to do is, now this is a kind of incredible achievement. They started right down here. One group started here. Another group started there. And they had to cut a path through the woods. It was 66 feet wide for 93 miles. From Pennsylvania all the way to Lake Ontario. And they had to do two of those. Because what happens is, now that you have these two parallel lines, right here and right here, they're called transit meridian lines. So they've got two parallel lines, and any line coming off of that, if you remember your 10th grade geometry, is also parallel. So that's how they created all these little boxes all the way throughout the purchase, and those were the townships that were available for people to be settled. Now, you have the transit line here, and you have the transit line here. Now, if any of you like to go shopping at Eastern Hills Mall, which is on Transit Road, that's where the name Transit Road comes from, because it's the transit line that goes back to the original Holland Land Company survey of 1797.